Growing up, my dad was very diligent about just having time as a family to come together and read the Bible and pray. We do that most evenings, unless he's coming in late or unless mom is not there. And we'd sing songs, and my dad would teach us this many songs, which I had never heard before. And I actually used to think growing up they were his own composition until maybe later in life I come across that song. There was this one song that used to go ring number 9. It went something like, on the hill of Calvary you'll find an exchange with a long wire running from heaven to earth. If you need to talk to the Father above, it says just go there and ring number 9. And as a child, that song, I used to think it's actually, it's reality. That somewhere in Calvary, there in Israel, there was a booth. You know, those days we never had cell phones. We didn't have a house phone. So that red booth we would have. I think in Calvary there's a booth there, and people who live around there, if they wanted to talk to God, they would actually just go there, pick the phone, and have a conversation with God. And I used to admire. I used to say how lucky those guys are. But now that I am a born-again believer and I am living in the reality of a relationship with God, you know that is actually true. That, and like those days, even it's not a booth. It's like the way a cell phone, if you want to talk to somebody, you just take it out and call. You can actually speak to God that oftenly and make your relationship that intimate. That when you have something, you know, sometimes you're excited, you want to talk to somebody and tell them the good news, or sometimes you're low and you want to, you know, just to speak to somebody, or sometimes you need a solution to something. I just remember the other day I was having this conversation with my boss, and I was telling him, this thing, imagine I can't do. It was part of my responsibility, but given how I am, I was just thinking, this one is dragging me. I don't see why it's necessary. It is hard. Too much energy, too little results. And I'm just telling my boss, I can't do this. And my boss was like, we have no other way. This thing has to be done. And I remember I just went and talked to God. God, only you can give me a solution, because I've tried to think this thing through and it's not possible. And imagine, it was not even long after that, and this thing just hit my mind. We can do it this way. So I'm just talking about that reality of God. Is that, like, you know how you can have a friend who's always there on the call, which is impossible actually, that every time you call them, they're there. People have their lives, they're moving on. But imagine you can have that relationship with God, where whenever you want to talk, you just talk to Him. And most of the times when you think about prayer, we think about going to a quiet place and started with praise and worship and then praying. You know, the acts, you start with adorations, you do thanksgiving. No, sometimes it can just be conversation. You're at home in the kitchen and you go like, God, I just had a bad day. You know, help me, you know, get over that. Or you have good news and you share with God. I'm also I'm reminded of this hymn that says, what a friend we have in Jesus. All our cares we can trust in Him. It actually says, oh, what peace we often forfeit just because we don't take it to God in prayer. And that prayer doesn't have to be something complicated. There's a place of just talking to God, just taking you take your phone and call, you just call God anytime, anywhere, and have conversation. And that will build a very intimate relationship, because then He'll become, as the Bible says, a friend who's even closer than a brother. So don't hesitate by just going there and ringing number 9.